Yeah,
Great. Thank you so much for being on with us today.
I'm Chef Michael Wells. I'm the coordinator for the Culinary Arts program. This is Chef Ed Nazario. He's one of our instructors. Today we're going to show you how to make chicken Alfredo fettuccine, which is a popular dish throughout the United States and other places. Basically, we're going to go through our mise en place to make sure that all of you have what you need. And so you should have some heavy cream. We have a little container of garlic, some olive oil. We've got some butter. We've already kind of cut our butter up. You won't need that whole stick of butter if that's what you got. You need about half of that. We have some parsley. That didn't come in your kit, but we're going to use that at the end. We have some salt and pepper. You should have your chicken breast. You have your cheeses. The one that's shredded is your Parmesan cheese, and the one that's grated is your Romano. And then over here on the stove, we've got some hot water simmering. That's what we're going to cook our pasta in. As far as timing, we need to get that pot of water going as soon as possible. So start on that first, and then we'll get started on talking about equipment and make sure that you guys have all the tools you need. Do that.
I'll give them a second to get there.
Let me know when you guys have your hot water going.
and if you guys have any questions, they can hear you, so feel free to ask questions as we go. And they can see you too, so.
Are there hands raised? What does that mean?
Question, at what temperature?
For what? The hot water?
I'm assuming so, yes.
We're going to have it simmering, so you're going to turn it up. It's not going to be a rolling boil. It's just going to be a nice simmer, so little bubbles coming up. So like 185, 180, 185. The temperature of the water. So every person in here is going to have a different type of stove, so it's hard for me to tell you it's medium or it's high or anything like that, because some of you have electric stoves, some of you have gas stoves, so it's going to be very difficult. But you need to have it we prefer to simmer our pasta as opposed to boiling our pasta. You get a much better product that way. So a nice simmer. So you're going to see it. Can you shoot in so they can kind of see what it's doing over here? I don't know if you can really see it very well, but the water's moving a little bit, and you see some vapor coming off, and that's what we're looking for. We don't want it to be like a hard rolling boil. We just nice simmer. So once you get your water on, we should be able to get started. Is there any other hands? I see a few.
Guys, go ahead and lower your raised hand from the earlier session, if that's what it's still up from. And leave it up if you still have something else, if you have a question. Malachi, do you have a question?
No, sorry, I accidentally hit it. I'm sorry.
Okay. James, I can't find the skillet.
Where's she at?
James, do you have any type of pan you can cook that chicken in? Chefs, feel free to jump in, but I would say any type of pan you can cook.
Well,
that in.
this is the pan. Can they see it? Where's it at?
Sorry, there you go.
There you go. So this is a fairly large saute pan that we're using, but you can use something smaller if that's what you have. Most of our stuff is designed for restaurant work, so it's going to be bigger and heavier and things than what you have at the house. But whatever you can grab will be fine. You can even use I don't know what you call it, the house. Skillet, or I mean that's probably the closest thing you might have.
Just think something that that chicken will fit into.
There you go. All right, let's go talk about the other stuff. The tools.
On the tools, yeah. All right, guys, I'm Chef Ed. Hello. Everybody can hear me okay?
Yes.
All right, so now we're going to talk a little bit about some of the equipment that you have. What we're talking, what Chef mentioned, mise en place. That's kind of the words that we live by. That means everything in its place. So when you're a chef, you get everything together that you need to cook before you actually start cooking, right? That way we're not running around the kitchen, having to go outside to the freezer or whatever, okay? So we try to get everything together. So Chef talked about all the ingredients that you have, so hopefully you have those. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the equipment that you might have around that you'll need, okay? So cutting board, right, so we can cut our chicken, okay? We have a couple of knives here. You don't have to have these kind of knives. We got some awesome knives. That's what chefs get, right? Awesome knives. So, but anything that we can cut this chicken up with, all right, have one of those. Also, some tools to stir, all right, so whisk. That helps whenever we're doing the Alfredo sauce. Or a rubber spatula, or anything that you can stick in a liquid that's not going to melt that you can stir with, okay? Also, something to turn your chicken. For us, it's going to be tongs, so that we can grab that chicken, turn it as it's cooking. And then our saute pans, you guys are already working on that. One thing we can do, and then also have a clean plate handy, so that whenever we get done with everything, we're going to put it on the plate, make it look nice and pretty, and then you guys can sample your own stuff. I think on equipment we're good. Oh, it's always good to have a couple of towels laying around in case you got to wipe down. We make messes all the time, so we have towels around all the time, so we can wipe down and stay clean as we cook.
So the first thing we're going to start with, you got your water getting hot. We don't want to put our pasta in the water until it's hot, so that's going to be different for everyone. So the first step we're going to do is we're going to take the chicken breasts, and Chef Ed's going to give you a demo on how to properly fillet the breasts. Most of them are a little thick, so we're going to cut them in half so they cook more evenly in the saute pan.
All right, guys, so your chicken breast. All right, let's put that on our cutting board. All right, just lay it down like that. And I'm going to ask you guys to really pay attention to what you're doing and be careful, okay? We're going to split this thing as if we're going to butterfly it this way, okay? So very carefully with your knife, and then the key is to keep this other hand up on the breast, not over it, so that your fingers are not in the way, okay? So kind of like that. All right? So once you have that, your fingers are up out of the way. You're going to try to keep your knife as even as possible, going all the way through horizontally, okay? So here we go.
Take your time, please.
All right, so flat, and try to find kind of the middle ways between the breasts so that we end up with two as even breasts as we can, so that when we're cooking, they cook evenly. All right, so just kind of start slow. Try to find that middle point there and kind of just start your first cut right there, okay? And just kind of slowly, with your hand out of the way. All right, you're just kind of slowly going through. Is it better that way? That's good. All right, and then just keep going. Make sure that your knife is not coming up towards your hand. Very slowly. All right, once you go all the way through, then we're going to end up with two pieces of chicken.
And the importance of this is that a lot of the chicken breasts that we get at the grocery store is they're older birds. They've been fed all kinds of different things. So the meat from the chicken tends to be tough. It's very different than what we would get in a restaurant. So we need to kind of cut those in half so they cook more evenly. And it's not such a tough product when you go to eat it.
Now, if you did it and they're not too even, it's okay. We're gonna cook them through anyway. This is a harder thing to do if you haven't done it. Okay, so if you have one that's bigger or smaller, we can kind of adjust. Okay.
Anyone have any issues or have questions? Michelle, let me see your chicken breast. Hold it up to the... Let me see it.
Said,
Ella.
what did I miss because my stove takes long to heat? I think if you could just do a quick synopsis, I guess.
Really, all they need to do is make sure they got the water going right now for the pasta.
And slice the chicken, yes.
And then we're gonna split the chicken. So.
After you guys mess with your chicken, wash your hands, okay, before we do anything else.
Does anyone have a piece, Michelle or Jacqueline? Is that right? Let me see your chicken. Raise it up a little more. Oh, that looks good. Yeah, good job. Michelle, are you embarrassed? You don't want to show me? All right, yeah. That'll work. That's good. It's practice, guys, all right? You know, it's something I've been doing this for since I was 15, probably your guys' age. So that is like 33 years ago I started doing this. And Chef Ed's got, I don't know, 20 years in?
20 or so, yeah.
So it comes pretty easy to us, but we're just showing you the proper techniques for food safety and for your own safety so you don't hurt yourself. The next step, Chef Ed's going to start. We probably need to get our pasta going, wouldn't you say?
That's it. That's good.
Yeah. So you should have a box of fettuccine.
I wonder how their pasta water's doing now.
How's your pasta water? Anyone having struggling with the water getting hot? Everyone good? All right. I think we're good. So no one had any issues.
Okay. So if your pasta's mostly simmering, you're going to get your package of pasta. And one thing we never ever do, and I've worked in Italian restaurants with Italian chefs in my career, you never ever take this pasta and break it and throw it in there, okay? My Italian chef would have killed me if I did that, okay? So every time we drop the pasta whole as it is. Be very careful so the water doesn't splash on you. And at first, when you first put it in, it might stick out of the water a little bit. We're going to stir it up. As those noodles start softening up in the bottom, we can stir it up and then we get them all in there to cook. Now your fettuccine is going to take about 9 to 11 minutes. Anytime we cook pasta, we want to cook it what's called al dente. Al dente means to the tooth. So the Italians like their pasta so that it still has a little bit of texture, so that it's not cooked to mush. Okay, so we're going to give it about the 9 minutes, and then we'll check it. The only way of knowing for sure is to check it. My mom used to tell me you could throw it against the wall, and if it stuck, it was done, and if it fell off, it wasn't. So, but that's not, I don't want y'all throwing pasta around. So we'll check it, and we'll take a little bite and see where it's at. All right, so after a minute or so, kind of work it, and then you can kind of get the rest of it in there, and then we can start our timer.
You may want to have a colander available in your sink, so if you don't have the system that we have, so you can when you drain your pasta, you have something to catch it. Just be careful when we get to that stage. We'll remind you as well. So chefs, getting that pasta going. Their next step is going to be to saute the chicken breast.
So go ahead and get whatever pan you're using to cook your chicken. Go ahead and get it on the heat, probably about a medium-ish. We want it hot enough to where whenever we put a little oil in there, it smokes just a little bit so that it lets us know that that pan's nice and hot and ready to cook. You want your pan hot anytime you're sauteing anything, or that item might stick to the pan, or else we want it nice and hot. We'll get a nice sear on both sides, and hopefully by the time we do both sides, the chicken will be almost cooked.
So when we're searing it, we're giving a little browning action, a little caramelization, and that adds flavor to it as well as eye appeal.
All right, 9 minutes. 9 minute time. 9 minutes in your head. All right, so I got all my pasta in there. Hopefully all your pasta's in the water and it's cooking. Once you have it in there cooking, let's do 9 minutes and then we'll check it, okay? In the meantime, we got that pan for the chicken getting hot. Your olive oil. And depending on what size pan you have, it'll look a little different, but you want it to barely coat the bottom of that pan, okay? You see it there? So we got just enough to kind of coat the bottom there, all right? You'll see it shimmering a little bit as it's getting hot, okay? Mine, I'm gonna give just another moment. I just want to see just a little bit of smoke come off the pan before I start sauteing, okay? Well, that's happening. We have your chicken breast on the board. Let's season it, okay? Let's grab your salt and pepper and just kind of sprinkle that chicken, a little salt. Pepper, please be easy on the pepper. My students are crazy with black pepper sometimes, so just a little sprinkle. You don't want to overpower the chicken, okay? Then turn it over and we'll get the other side.
Chef's using the tongs to turn it over and touch the chicken. We don't want to cross-contaminate. I mean, if we touch raw chicken, we have to go wash our hands every time. So by using those tongs, he's eliminating that process.
So if you guys got your tongs, go ahead and start using those to handle your chicken. We'll use them to put them in the pan. That way you don't have to wash your hands as much. Our hands get dried up, so anytime that we can keep from washing them so much, we'll take that opportunity because you got to work clean, especially when you're working with poultry, raw meats. So that's part of the safety. All right, so I got a little bit of smoke coming off my pan, so I'm gonna go with it. All right, so got my board, get as close to the pan. Important, whenever you're putting this chicken in the pan, anytime we put anything in the pan, we're gonna lay it away from us. All right, so that oil doesn't splatter onto us. Okay, such as, so you're gonna go lay it down, and then you're gonna lay it out away from you. Okay? They should be, you should hear that nice sizzle from what it's cooking. So the same with the other one. Gently, and then lay it away from you. If it's hot enough, you should be able to shake it and it not stick. If it's sticking, leave it alone. As it browns, a lot of times it'll just unstick itself. Okay? So let it do, we're gonna do a good 2-3 minutes. If you're going too hard, if you hear a lot of sizzling and a lot of smoke coming off your pan, reduce it a little bit. We want to cook it slowly. We want to brown it, but we want to cook it on both sides so that it cooks all the way through right in the pan, okay? So if it's too hot, that's key for us and our students. We got to teach them how key it is to keep that temperature high or low depending on what we're cooking, okay? So kind of watch out for that. Be careful, it's going to splatter a little bit, so you guys be careful at the house. Everybody cooking their chicken? Is that happening right now? All right. Can you all show me what's going on in some of with your cameras, or can you move them? Can you all see the chicken, the pan? Let's see what's happening.
Yeah.
All right, there you go. Who's that, Miss Jacqueline? She's working it.
There we go.
There's another one. Good.
And see it? Yeah. Let's see, get some nice bubbles going on there.
Yeah, all right, good job, guys. The ones I've seen got a good, nice heat, nice low heat, so keep it at that. You'll start seeing around the corners some browning once it starts getting to cooking and browning nicely.
You'll also see the chicken kind of turning white from the bottom. That's showing you that the proteins are cooking. You might give your pasta a stir.
You cook, you gotta multitask. You gotta do all kinds of stuff at one time. So you gotta have your eyes and hands on different things. So that's a good experience for y'all. Alright guys, so my chicken's nice and brown. I'm going to turn it so you can see kind of what we're looking for as far as the color. Alright, you want that nice browning throughout most of the chicken. You know, it's got little curves and stuff, so it's not going to be all the way, but you want to get nice color all over like that. That's what gives us a lot of flavor. Okay? Try to get that going. Then we go to the other side. The same with my other one. Okay? Now we'll give it about 2-3 minutes on that side, and we'll start checking the temperature to see if we're getting close to being done.
Now, if you're getting black particles in the bottom of your pan, that's not pepper, but black particles, that means your heat's too high and you need to turn it down. If it's smoking a lot, not steam, but smoke, you need to turn it down. We don't want to set off your fire alarm.
Hasn't been 9 minutes yet, huh?
Now we got about 4 minutes.
4 minutes left. Okay.
3, 4.
What about that browning? Can I see some of that browning on that chicken? Can we do that? See where y'all are at. Alright, see, I let it go a little longer on that other side. You want to get a little bit more brown? You guys don't get too impatient with it. Let it do its thing, let it brown. That's what's going to give you a lot of the flavor. Everybody okay so far? All right, I'm going to start checking the temperature of my chicken. I feel like it's getting pretty close, so I'm going to start checking it, okay? When you check it with a thermometer, those of you that have it, all right, we have a digital thermometer, okay, and we're looking for at least 165 degrees Fahrenheit, okay? When we go in there, poultry chicken has to reach 165 degrees for 15 seconds for it to be safe to eat, okay? So we're going to check it. You want to go into the thickest part of whatever you're measuring, and that'll give you the reading mostly throughout, okay? So we're going to start checking that. I got my bigger piece here. Make sure you don't go all the way through the fillet. And I'm about at 145 and climbing pretty quickly. So another minute or two. If it's getting too brown on that other side, that's okay. We'll turn it again on the other side and let it cook some more. Yeah, good. Keep an eye on your pasta. Make sure it's not sticking.
Pasta should be close. Chef Ed's going to check his pasta. Our time's about up on that. He's going to make sure that it's all al dente.
I want to grab it with my hand, but I don't want him to do that at home. All right, guys, so if you fish one out, it's not going to be, well, It shouldn't be too hot. Maybe my feelings in my hands are not what they used to be, but it shouldn't be too bad. You should be able to grab it. Then usually what I do is I take a little piece, or else so I can try, and so the other piece, if it's not done, I can still stick it back in there. And you want it to have a little chew to it, okay? You want to be able to chew through it a little bit. You don't want it to just be mushy, okay? So mine's good. So I'm going to turn the heat off on that. I'm going to check my chicken real quick.
Turn your heat down.
On the pasta?
No, I think on the, you can.
All right, so I'm at 165 and climbing, so I'm good on the chicken. All right, so I got a new clean cutting board. Don't use the same cutting board that you had the raw chicken in, okay? Get you a different one.
Or wash the one you had.
Oh yeah, not everybody has 25 cutting boards, I guess. All right, so I'm gonna give it a moment, see if, where we're at with the chicken. If you guys can let me know if your chicken's done, so we can go to the next step.
Make sure you turn the heat off on the pan.
And anytime you cook any protein, a chicken, a beef, a pork chop, whatever it is, after it comes off the heat, you want to let it rest, okay? What's happening is as we're cooking, all the molecules inside this meat are going all crazy because of the heat and all that. So what we do is we let those proteins rest. That way all those molecules kind of settle back in. All the moisture kind of runs throughout the product. Okay, so anything that you cook that's a protein, you want to let it rest a moment. If I cut into this right now, the juices are going to go everywhere. It's not going to be juicy. It's going to be dry. Okay, so give it a minute. If it's a small item like this, a couple of minutes to sit there, it'll be good just to kind of let everything settle inside of that meat, okay? We good on the chicken?
How close is the pasta?
Pasta's ready.
Pasta's ready.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So his pasta was ready. He turned the heat off, so it's not cooking any further. He's just holding it right now so it stays hot. You can't do that forever. Eventually you'll have to take it out because it will continue cooking from the heat. If you're draining it off into the sink, just let it sit there for a moment, and then we'll eventually bring it back and we'll mix it with our sauce.
So just to keep it from overcooking, I'm gonna set my basket just in this bowl. So if you guys are draining, just like Chef said, just drain it, let it sit there. I just don't want it to overcook too bad, so I'm gonna let it chill right here. All right, and we'll get back to it when our sauce is done. All right, we're good?
Anyone need to catch up? It's okay. Everyone has different stoves and kitchens are laid out different. It might take you a little longer, so that's fine.
My noodles are still cooking.
Okay.
Okay, that's fine.
That's not an issue. Just let them go ahead and.
The next step is after the chicken is cooked. So if we're done with the chicken, we can move on. The noodles can be cooking this whole time as long as you keep your eye on them.
I'm not done.
Someone's not done.
Mm-hmm.
So talk about SEC.
All right, guys. So some of you guys are finishing up. We'll talk a little bit about our program. We are at Somerset Community College at the Somerset North Campus. All right, we have a beautiful kitchen. You can see some of it behind me. You can see our beautiful stove that we have right here in the front. All right, so we have top-of-the-line equipment. We have a stove. We have grills. We have deep fryers. We have griddles, convection ovens, broilers. So we have all the equipment that you might need to learn all the cooking techniques that we try to teach our students from the whole time that they're here. Okay, so we kind of take it through steps. We start with knife skills and doing some work with that so that they get really good at producing the preparation that you need to do a lot of the recipes. And also, in culinary arts, we work with very specific knife cuts a lot of times. So we spend the first 8 weeks just dicing onions, potatoes, and carrots in different shapes and all that. Our students have to do 13 different cuts at the end of that class. All right, so we try to get you to where you are very comfortable with your knife. Okay, so then we do, our introduction class talks a lot about history of culinary arts, kind of where our profession came from, where it's at to this point, how it evolved in time. We talk a lot about the industry itself, how us chefs are, how we're supposed to behave, our code of ethics and conducts that we have to go through to be good chefs. And then we start talking about ingredients and cooking techniques and things like that. We also have a meats class where we do a lot of butchering of meats. We do an international class where we do foods from different countries every week. And then we also have a couple of baking classes the chef does. We got basic baking, so a lot of cookies, muffins, breads. And then he does advanced baking, which you do a lot of nice European type cakes and desserts and things like that. You do ice cream in that class?
We do.
And then you get to make your homemade ice cream as well. We do all kinds of fun stuff here. So if you like food, if you like to eat different things all the time, it's a good program to go through. And we enjoy doing those things, so we enjoy it when our students can do it as well.
I've got a question.
Yes?
Are there any particular places that your alumni have went to actually work that you just think is pretty cool?
They either stay locally or within the surrounding area, or they will travel outside of Kentucky. So we've had a student go to New Jersey for a chef job, Tennessee, Arizona, all over. Lexington, Chicago. So it just depends, what kind of job you want and where you want to go. There's jobs for chefs everywhere, all over the world, but you have to want it. It's not an easy profession. It can be tough, but it's very rewarding. I get to eat great food every day, and I don't know of too many professions where you get to do that sort of thing, and it becomes very much a family in the kitchen. We're very close with each other, and it's because you're in what we call the trenches. You're on the line. It's hot and it's stressful at times, but it's a good type of feeling. It's a good stress. It's like an adrenaline rush. If you want a good idea of what it's kind of like, maybe not exactly, but there's a couple of movies. One is Burnt, with Bradley Cooper. That's a good one to watch. And one is called Chef. Those are good movies to kind of get an idea of what it's like. Years ago, maybe some of you guys are a little younger now, so there used to be a TV show called Hell's Kitchen. Anyone ever remember that? Hell's Kitchen?
Yeah, I just stream it.
It used to be like that in the industry, what I grew up in, where it was a lot of very masculine, very military-like, a lot of screaming and pushing. You can't do that anymore. You're going to get yourself in trouble. And so it's not like that. We're very patient with people. We will push you because it's all about timing. We have to get things done quickly to get out to our customers. And so...
If you guys complete this dish today and let one of your family members eat it, all right, and you get a lot of satisfaction out of that person telling you, man, this was a good dish, you did a good job, this tastes delicious. That's what we kind of thrive on. Every night at a restaurant, we look for all those customers to be satisfied with dishes that we produce. And that's what gives us that awesome feeling to come back and do another 14, 16 hours the next day. All right, status on chicken.
We good?
I see a lot of thumbs up. All right, we're going to move on. So, our pan that we cooked the chicken in, okay? You're going to have a little bit of oil there. You want to leave that under or you want to drain that?
You can drain the oil off.
The leftover oil that you have left, find a little dish or something. It's going to be a little hot, so don't do anything plastic that might melt. If you have another smaller pan or something, just kind of drain that oil that we had the chicken in, okay? Now, this is good. If you got little bits of stuff like this, not black, brown, this nice little brown bits, if you have that in the bottom of your pan, that's good stuff. We call that fond, all right? That's a French word for foundation. So what that means is that we're going to use this as our foundation for our sauce, okay? And the little bits of protein that are in there are going to add flavor to the sauce, okay? So anytime we brown anything in a pan, we want that in the bottom, and we want to use this pan to make that sauce to maximize the flavor of that sauce, okay? So I'm going to leave that there. I've drained most of that. And we're going back in the heat. About a medium again. There we go. And it doesn't have to be super hot for this step, okay? So get your garlic ready.
Depending on the amount of garlic, if you like garlic, you can put it all in there. If you want a little bit, it's up to you really on how much garlic you put in.
All right, so your butter, we did about half the stick, right? You guys have one stick, we'll do about half the stick, okay? You can go in the pan with that. You don't want it too hot. You want that butter to slowly melt. We're going to make a sauce now, so we don't need that super heat that we needed to brown this, okay? So kind of bring it up slowly to melt. Swirl it around a little bit so that it gets going. And it's going to seem like a lot of butter, all right? But we're doing Alfredo sauce. It's all butter and cream and cheese, so it's an integral part of this particular sauce. We don't do a lot of low-fat stuff. Chef does maybe a chapter or two in his baking class, but other than that, since we are taught French cooking techniques, that's kind of our beginnings. A lot of this stuff is heavy, okay? Heavy cream, butter, a lot of fat, but fat equals flavor to us. So that's okay. All right, so once your butter is...
Wait, how much butter was we supposed to use?
About half that stick. Did you get a stick of butter?
Yeah.
You use only half and cut it up in little slices. So half the stick and then cut it up and put it into your pan. The other half you can use for toast later.
Once your butter's melted, you can add your garlic paste. And garlic, a lot of times the way we use garlic is either minced really fine or we turn it into a paste. So when you introduce it into the pan to cook, it's real quick. It's not going to need a lot of time. We don't want to brown it. Garlic can get bitter if you brown it too much or burn it. So once your butter's hot, 30 seconds or so, and your garlic is ready. All right, after that, don't let your garlic go too much. All right, after that, have your heavy cream ready. We're going straight with the heavy cream in the pan. Be careful, it's going to bubble a little bit. And at first, it's going to look like a weird separation of butter and cream on the other side. That's fine, because as it cooks, it's going to come together.
You're going to use the whole bottle.
Then now I can grab my whisk or even my spatula and start kind of stirring that in. If when you're stirring you feel the little bits that we talked about, the fond, go ahead and scrape those so that they come into the sauce. And as you're coming up to a boil, the sauce will start coming together. Heavy cream has a lot of stabilizers in it that cause this mixture that wouldn't necessarily mix to come together into one sauce.
I'm sorry, my computer messed up, so I got kicked out. I put the garlic in my pan, then what do I do?
You're only going to cook the garlic for about 30 seconds.
Okay.
You had your butter in there, right?
Yes.
Yes?
Yep.
Yes.
All right, so 30 seconds cook your garlic, and then you're going to add the whole bottle of your heavy cream.
Okay.
And you'll just bring that up to like more or less a simmer. And you can stir in. You're going to see some separation from the cream and the fat that's in there. Go ahead and stir that together, and eventually it will just kind of combine.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, so if you can see mine, it's already kind of bubbling around the corners. It's already going to come together a little more, and it's going to continue to do so as it simmers and as we start adding the cheese to it. So, like we mentioned, this is Alfredo. Pretty simple, right? We got butter, we got garlic, optional if you like it. Then we got the heavy cream, and then we're just adding some really nice cheeses to it.
Show them what we're doing with the cream. I don't know if you can see it, it's kind of bright in the picture. But there's steam coming off of it. It's bubbling in there really well. There we go. Yeah, that's a better picture. You can kind of see what it's doing there.
Hey guys, one thing, anytime you do milk, heavy cream, be careful with the heat because it only takes a moment for that to bubble over. It's kind of one of those things that when it boils, it's going to kind of expand, okay? So don't do a very hard boil. Just kind of bring it to a simmer, okay? You see mine kind of just bubbling all around, okay? So be careful with that. If it does start coming over the edge of your pan, just take it off the heat and put it on the side. But if you have the heat kind of gentle, you should be all right.
What's that?
My phone died. What did I miss?
I don't know. Where were you at? What was the last thing you heard?
We had just finished the chicken.
How's your pasta doing?
It's done.
Okay.
And I've got some butter going in the pan for the sauce.
All right, good.
Good. Add your garlic and cook it for about 30 seconds.
Okay, I'm just glad you guys aren't finished because thank God.
We got you.
Once you cook the garlic for 30 seconds, you're going to add the whole bottle of your heavy cream to the pan.
The whole bottle?
Yes, the whole bottle. And then you'll stir that in with the butter and the garlic. And then you're going to bring it to a simmer. You got that?
Alright.
All right.
And I used only half a stick of butter. Was that right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Can't hear.
This smells really good though.
Good. All right, so everybody got their sauce simmering a little bit?
Nope.
No, I've seen a couple of no's, so I'm gonna hold on. We don't have to cook the cream a lot. We just want to bring it up to a simmer. We'll simmer it 3, 4, 5 minutes, and we're
Mine
good.
looks like this. Is that like normal?
Yeah, you're fine.
Yeah, it's looking all right.
Now give it a stir.
Yeah, make sure you stir it so that cream doesn't scald the bottom of the pan.
Stirring is key in this process.
What is keeping this progress?
You need to stir that sauce. Whenever the cream is in there, make sure you stir quite a bit so that it doesn't stick to the bottom of the pan.
So does everyone have their cream in their pan? Anyone not have that? Or not at that step yet? All right.
All right, so once I've been simmering for just a couple of minutes here, see my pan there, it's probably that cream is probably gonna thicken just a touch. So a couple of minutes and then we can start adding our cheese. Make sure that when you start adding your cheese, you kind of turn it down to low. Okay, we want to slowly melt this cheese in there. Anytime you add cheese to a sauce, you want to do it a little at a time. You don't want to dump a bunch of cheese in. It can turn into a big glob, okay? So we're going to do it slowly. Not too much of a problem with the Romano because it's so finely grated, but we'll still do it a little bit at a time.
So he's going to add the Romano first, and he sprinkle it in while he's stirring. The Romano is the grated one. And as you add the cheese and it incorporates into the heavy cream, it melts down, your sauce will start to get thicker.
Right, really the thickness of the sauce comes from a little bit from simmering the cream, but mostly from the cheese that you put in. It's going to kind of bring it all together.
And I want you guys to do me a favor real quick. Your Parmesan cheese, take out maybe like 1/4 of a cup or a pinch full. This is how much I've took out. We're gonna use that on top of our finished dish. So just take a little bit out that you can sprinkle on top and set that aside.
All right, so once your Romano is in and it's all incorporated, all right, it should be a little thicker. Okay, and then we can go with our Parmesan. We're gonna go with the Parmesan just a little slower, okay? It's not grated, that's fine. So I'm just gonna sprinkle some like that, and then I'm gonna work it in. All right, so once I see that Parmesan is melting into the sauce, I'm gonna do another sprinkle. All right, work that in there. It should start looking nice and smooth, shiny,
creamy,
a little thicker. At this point, your heat should be low, right? You shouldn't have you shouldn't be boiling or anything like that. We're just kind of slowly melting this cheese into it. All right, so that's incorporated. I'm gonna go a little bit more.
Grab me some spoons.
So really, I'm gonna go in four instances. I got it in there. Okay, so that's my third. Make sure when you're cooking, you always have some spoons around so you can be tasting. We're going to taste it here in a minute, see how we're doing. All right, so that's incorporated. I'm going to go with the last of my parm. Incorporate that in there.
Hey, you're burning it. You're burning something. Where's my phone? What was in your hands?
Cooking.
What's close? It wasn't good.
Turn your heat off and take it off the heat if it's burning.
Here's his apology. You're saying right here.
They say it's burning? They say it's burning?
You're burning it.
You want the door that came out of that? The Mexican store? They're trying to call me. I'm like,
Hey, you guys want to mute? We're hearing your conversation. You might want to mute.
All right, so all my parm's in there. Sir?
Explain the salt versus the cheese.
Okay, everybody's parm in there. We close? All right, guys, so once you have all your cheeses in there, it's time to taste it. We don't want to salt and pepper this sauce until we have all the cheese in there, right? We have Parmesan cheese that has a very salty characteristics to it, and so does Romano. Okay, so we may not even need to add salt, depending on what it tastes like, okay? So just add all your cheese in, incorporate it. Once you have a nice, smooth, thick sauce, we can give it a little taste. It's going to be hot, so be careful when you're tasting it. All right, so for me, I'm good with the salt content. I think the cheese kind of carried it. I don't think we need any salt, okay? Taste yours. Salt and pepper is the thing that's a lot of it is to your liking, right? We say to taste a lot, so however you want to eat it. But for me, as far as this recipe, good job on the recipe, chef. It tastes great, just like it is. But I think Alfredo should have a little touch of black pepper at the end. So I am gonna add just a touch of that Don't go crazy on it again. Black pepper can kind of take over. So just a little sprinkle. All right. Work that in, and we're good.
You guys are doing good. Keep up. We're almost there. Kiana, how's yours going?
Yeah.
Good?
All
All right.
right.
Quick question: is it supposed to like thicken once it cools down a little bit?
It will thicken because of the cheese that you've added. And it will get, as it gets cold later, it will thicken very much.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, that's a nice looking one right there. Miss Sia, that looks good.
I was wondering because it looked a little runny.
A little runny?
Yeah, it just wasn't really thick, and I was like,
You got all your cheese in there?
yeah, I've got all my cheese. It's just that it's, I guess, just going and doing something.
Well, we don't want it like, I mean, a lot of times people want to think of like gravy. We don't want it thick like gravy. We want it to be nappe, which means there's some viscosity to it, some liquid to it, so it coats the back of the spoon like Chef is showing you there. That's called nappe.
If you got a spoon and you can do this to
It's
it,
doing that.
All right, then you're good.
that's nappe. All right, we good? All right, so we have your sauce. We have our noodles cooked on the side, right? We have our chicken ready, okay? So what we do typically, you find in different Italian restaurants I was done. When I learned from my Italian chef, the pasta always got tossed in the sauce. All right, so we never put pasta down and then the sauce on top. So the Italian way is to finish the pasta in the pan with your sauce. That helps everything get nice and coated, okay? So that's what we're going to do very carefully. I have my reserved pasta here, and I'm just going to go in the pan with it. Now, as that pasta has said, it is going to stick a little bit, but once we get it in the sauce, it'll be good. All right, so just kind of gently start working your fettuccine into the sauce, kind of tossing it to coat. You want to get all of these fettuccine noodles nice and coated
You should.
in your sauce.
This should be enough pasta to feed 3 or 4 people.
Yeah, don't eat all this in one sitting.
Yeah, don't. Yeah, you'll pass out for the next 2 days.
There's a little flipperoo we do at the restaurant there. All right.
Yeah, don't try that. You'll make a mess.
I don't want the moms mad at me. All right. So once we have that,
So my stepmom is allergic to gluten, so she can't eat the noodles. So how could I save this sauce without putting gluten in it?
Well, have you put your pasta in it yet?
No.
So just take out a little serving of the sauce, maybe 2 ounces or something, and set it aside, and she can put it on her chicken or whatever she wants to.
Okay. Thank you.
so if you guys take that pasta and kind of twirl it a little bit, whenever you bring it to the pan, you can get a little bit of height. We always look for a little bit of height in our dishes, okay? That kind of draws the dish.
I was just showing the height,
Okay.
the difference. So
That just kind of brings the dish up to the diner's eyes, okay? So it draws your attention to it. Okay, so a little bit of pasta then, however much you're going to eat. That's my chicken one, right?
yeah, that was your chicken.
All right, then we have our chicken breast. We're just going to cut it into strips. Be very careful.
Move those tongs. That way.
This out of the way completely. All right. All right, so just slice your chicken.
Lucy.
All right, and then usually what we do is we try to keep it together like that.
Loose.
slide a spatula or your knife under it, or we can just lay it right on top of the pasta. You could also just kind of take and shingle it. You can just kind of put it around the side like that. And then that little reserved cheese that we have left over, you can sprinkle that on it. And then for us, usually, we're all about colors and having a little balance of colors and brightness to a dish. So a lot of times we'll grab a little parsley. I know you guys don't have that, so it's okay. So you kind of cut that a little bit, and then you can do a little sprinkle, and then you have that nice green, bright green color to go in your dish.
Look good?
That looks amazing.
All right, let's see some of y'all's if you got them.
Let's see them when they're done.
Let's see them, guys.
Yeah, all right.
Good.
Good deal. Looks great. Awesome.
I'm putting mine on the plate right now. It'll take me a little longer to stir. It's butter a lot.
Looks good.
I mean, if it tastes as good as it smells, then I think we're set.
That's a good indication, yes.
Kiana had to leave, but she sent me a picture, and I will show you guys.
All right, we can see it a little bit, yeah.
This is more hard.
So, this is what mine looks like.
Very nice. Looks good. Yep. You guys all did a great job. The ones I've seen look really good.
They all look nice.
Good job. It looks great, Emily.
I guess after you show us, you can start enjoying it.
Michelle didn't want to wash dishes. She's got a paper plate.
You got the right idea.
Looks good. Go ahead and try it. It's best to eat now when it's hot. So
that Alfredo sauce, once it starts getting cold, it starts locking up and getting real thick.
Go ahead with some forks. Hey, so does anyone have any questions at this point? Your dish should be done. Is there any questions about what we did today or about the culinary program? Hard to ask questions when you're eating.
So do you guys do like internships at certain restaurants or?
Yeah, really, it depends on where the student's from. You know, a lot of times they want to do their internships in their local area that they live in. We have students from Tennessee, all the way from Russell Springs and Columbia to Danville, so they're spread out pretty far. So we try to work with places that are, you know, local to them, so they're not driving so far. But sometimes they are paid, sometimes they are unpaid. It depends on the location.
Do you guys do all kinds of different like types of restaurants?
Either restaurants, anything to do with food service. So you could be doing an internship. You could be doing an internship in a hospital or a nursing home, or it could be in a grocery store in their deli department. It could be at our restaurant. Chef Ed and myself own a restaurant outside of the college that a lot of the students do their internships at. And we pay $10 an hour for all the students that want to work there.
We do have a question. Someone wants to know where your restaurant is.
I don't know if they can see it or not.
I just hold it up to that one.
There we go.
Yeah.
It's Mulligan's at Woodson Bend. And there's a phone number. I got to figure out which way I need to move it. There's reservations there. But honestly, just reach out to us at the college if you want to come to the restaurant. We are a seasonal restaurant. We are only open on Fridays and Saturdays, Thursdays in the months of June, July, and August. And we're open from April through September. Just on the weekends. It's just a part-time thing for us to have some fun. So, and a place for the students to learn.
What's the name of the restaurant again? Oh, never mind. Sorry.
Mulligan's, yeah.
Also, someone is asking, how long is the culinary program?
Oh, good question. I forgot to mention that. Yes. It differs because we get some people that have already had some general education courses or have transferred or have been to college previously, but it's set up to be a 2-year program. So we have labs Monday through Thursday from around 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. That's when we do all our cooking for the most part here in the lab. And then, a lot of them will take the Monday, Tuesday course throughout the year and then come back the next year and do the other side of it. All right, but we have labs. We also have some online classes. So we don't only teach cooking, we teach management, nutrition, how to make money, because that's one of the most important parts. Chef always says you can be the best chef in the world, but if you don't know anything about how to handle your money, you're not going to be successful. Very important in any business that you're in. All right, so we teach a number of things, not just cooking. We're trying to get people prepared to go out in the field and be able to work and be productive chefs. But two-year program is what it's supposed to be.
Great. Speaking of money, someone just asked what is the average salary for a chef?
That varies as well depending on where you're at and the job. Here in Kentucky, I think an executive chef can be anywhere from $50,000 up to 6 figures, depending if you work in a large hotel chain or as an executive chef for multiple restaurants. So the range is pretty varied, depending on, of course, in a bigger city, you'll probably make more money, but you're paying more for cost of living. So it just varies up and down depending on the operation, the size, how much money they're bringing in. But it can be anywhere within that range.
I think the average nationally is about $60,000 per year for a chef, executive chef at the top level. It takes some time to get there. So you come in, you finish your degree, you go out to work, you're going to work in different positions in the restaurant and building your knowledge base and experience. So you would come in as maybe a cook and then you would progress to a sous chef, and then maybe to executive sous chef, and then to executive chef. It takes some time, but generally, most people get there in 10 years? Mm-hmm. 10 years, you get to the executive chef level.
And you need that time, really, to prepare yourself for that job. It's not something that you can walk into. Chef got an executive chef position really close after he graduated, and he's told me before that it was overwhelming. It was hard to do right off the bat. So you need those years of experience to learn so that you're prepared to handle everything that the executive job entails.
You guys eating your food? Yeah, go ahead.
Another question in the chat. Do you think starting a food truck business in this area is a good idea? And do the ones that do become successful?
Well, this is a tough one for us, all right? We want to be brutally honest with you. It is a tough business to do a food truck, all right? You have to have the right type of food that people like, and you have to be in a place that people are going to come to you, which is very difficult to get that customer base. There are people in the area that are successful at it. I have no idea what kind of money they make, but they continue to do it, so it must be working for them. It is expensive to get a food truck. It takes a lot of money to buy one and get it going. I'm not going to say it's a bad idea. I'm not going to say it's a great idea. It certainly has its opportunities in that you're your own boss. Your restaurant is something you can move around and go to festivals or go to factories, wherever the business is, and you set your own hours. That's great. Are you going to get rich off of it in this area? Probably not. Most of the food trucks that you see that are successful are going to be in bigger cities, Lexington, Louisville, places like that. Maybe Bowling Green, maybe. But you have to do a lot of volume to really be where you're making a decent amount of money.
But there are stories of people that do the food trucks and then end up doing well, and then they're able to get a stand-up restaurant and get multiple ones after that. So there is a path to success in all of this, but it is a process, and there are some hardships, of course, involved in that process.
Any other questions? Some of the places you can work are obviously restaurants. You can work at restaurants or own your own restaurant, bakeries, country clubs, resorts, hotels, and in regards to that, it can be all different kinds of levels. Very fancy to just very simple. I don't know where to ask my question. And the cruise ships, you can travel abroad and work. So lots of options. Well, not right now abroad, but maybe in a year.
What made you name your restaurant Mulligan's? That's another question that came in.
Well, it's a golf resort. And the mulligan is like a do-over. A lot of golfers they have mulligans where they do it over because they screwed up that first shot.
So they can have a really bad day at the golf course, but have a mulligans to come to the restaurant and have a good evening and a good meal.
Nice.
And some of the dishes the chicken Alfredo's on our menu. We have steaks, obviously. We have quite a few entrees, fish, shrimp, chicken dishes, pork chops. We usually have a chef's special of the day that's available. Hamburgers, the normal stuff like that. But we do everything in-house, scratch, so it's pretty tasty. They seem to like it a lot. This is our 6th year.
Did everybody like the Alfredo? Did it turn out well for everybody that's tried it? Yeah, I see one there. Good.
If the sauce gets too thick, you can add a little milk to it or just a touch of water to thin it out a little bit. Sometimes the sauce wants to bind up once you get the pasta in it.
Especially if you got leftovers and you're going to reheat it in the microwave. Add a little bit of milk on top before you throw it in the microwave, because sometimes that butter will separate from the heat, but that milk will kind of help make it more creamy. All right, because I know there's a lot of pasta. I don't know if you're going to eat it all right now.
I hope everyone enjoyed what we're doing today. If you have any further questions, we can take them now, or you can email us at the college, and we'll answer them for you. Everyone good? Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Have a great day. It was a pleasure.